All right, so example el numero dos.
Okay, so now we're talking about systems, and the key thing on a system is that the answer is really a shaded region.
Right.
We don't just have an x and a y that gives us an answer like if they were were equalities.
Right, we're not looking for something like x is 2, y is 5.
Right.
No, we need
There's
more
a
than
lot. There's
Yeah.
a lot of solutions. So we
Technically,
start off,
there's an infinite number of solutions.
technically, yes.
Yeah, technically.
Yeah. So we're going to start off by graphing that line, y-intercept at 3, slope of 2, so
and
that's
it's
2, right?
solid, because
Solid.
it's equal to, which means we can actually be on the line.
Right.
So there it goes.
And then the next one is a parabola.
Yep. And again, using your translation geniusness,
It
opens up
up.
and is slid down 2 spots.
Right.
So don't forget what you've been working on for the past 7 months or however long. How long
Right.
have you been in school?
I don't know. 7 months sounds
7
good.
months? All right, 7 months it is. So graph that
Not
guy.
long enough.
Yeah, apparently, because we're still in it.
Yeah.
So, and then what we want to do is we want some overlap here. So we want to know the solution is where these two things overlap at the same time.
So what you can do is you can shade one of them, and it would be helpful maybe to have a couple colors handy, like some colored pencils or maybe some highlighters. So
Right.
what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight in purple for my purple graph. So less than is below that line.
Right. And again, you can check using the 0.00.
And then for the parabola, greater than is, well, I'm getting ahead of myself here. For the parabola, greater than, this time should be inside, which you can check 0, 0 and make sure that is a true statement. So we are graphing inside. And then where is that overlapping?
It's really sorry
inside
about
the
that.
parabola, underneath the line.
So there you go.
And
right there behind that smudge.
Yeah, and you've got to do something whenever you're doing this that makes it clear that there should be one spot that's your answer.
Right.
Okay.
And sometimes the shadings when you're doing this can get a little confusing. So that's why we would suggest using a highlighter or different colors or something like that, where you can still see what's going on without having to guess where your lines went.
Right. If you shade really lightly both times, and then you can just
Darken in the middle.
Yeah, because once you start shading and then you shade again, when you shade on top of shading, like that's your answer.
Right, the shade on top of shade.
Yeah, my shading on the computer is not very good. On my paper, I shade hardcore. So
Hardcore shading.
Yeah, hardcore
Okay.
shading. So all right,
Sounds shady.
good one. Here's a circle with a radius of 4.
That joke sponsored by Nutella. So that circle was good until the last part.
Got a little indentation over there.
Got a little.
It's all right. It's less than or
It's
equal
a
to,
unique
which is
circle.
inside.
Again, you can pick the 0.00 and double check that. 0 is less than 16.
It is. And then we've got a parabola. This time it opens down because of that negative, and we're shifting up 1.
So again, use what you've learned previously about your translations. Very important. Okay. Both of these are solid lines because we have equal tos.
Yep.
And sometimes you can forget which one you're supposed to be. So really pay attention to that as you're doing your work.
And if you realize after the fact and you're using something you don't want to erase or you can't because it's a pin, then pointing to it and saying dash or something like that. So if you look at this, where do the shading overlap? It overlaps inside the circle, but like outside the parabola.
Outside the parabola, right. So that's the part that we want to emphasize as being the solution.
So here I'm going to highlight in yellow, which I don't think accents that very well, but you insisted I pick yellow. So.
But look, it looks okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell where the solution is right there.
Okay.
It's better than the dark smudge.